What is the oldest Native American tribe? If you were hoping the answer was as easy as, say, Navajo or Cherokee, you might be surprised. In the United States, there are 5.5 million people who identify as having some Native American ancestry, and there are 574 recognized Native American tribes. The largest of those tribes is Navajo, which has around 340,000 members. Next is Cherokee with around 290,000, followed by Chippewa, Sioux, Choctaw, and Apache. However, the first settlers into North America likely arrived long before any of these tribes existed. We don't know for sure when and how people first migrated into North America, and there are several theories on how this happened. North and South America were the last continents to be inhabited by humans, at least 17,000 years ago, but possibly much earlier. The most common theory is that nomadic people from Asia moved across the Bering Strait into Alaska and settled there. At the end of the last ice age, Asia and North America were joined by a land bridge called Beringia. This was because sea levels were much lower then. Humans settled in Alaska, but couldn't go further south because North America was covered in an ice sheet. When the ice started to melt, a single group of people moved south through a gap in the ice. Some believe that all Native Americans, both in North and South America, were descendants of this single group. So using this theory, Native Americans first settled in northwestern Alaska. Some people have suggested that humans could have arrived by boat, traveling close to the shores down the west coast of the continent. At first, it was thought that people arrived about 13,000 years ago. This was because of the discovery of a civilization that was called the Clovis. For many years, the Clovis were thought to be the first Native Americans. But over the last 30 years or so, this has been debunked as older discoveries were made. Here's a crash course in what we've discovered. Folsom, New Mexico. 10,000-year-old remains of an extinct bison were found with spear marks. Bluefish Caves, Yukon. 24,000-year-old animal bones discovered with human markings. Santa Rosa Island, California. 13,000-year-old human bones discovered, suggesting the use of boats. Monteverde, Chile. 14,000-year-old human settlement discovered. Hoyo Negro, Yucatan. 12,000-year-old human skeleton discovered in an underwater cave. Paisley, Oregon. 15,000-year-old fossilized human feces discovered in a cave. Freakin' Site, Texas. 15,000-year-old human settlement discovered. Anzac, Montana. 12,500-year-old remains of an infant discovered, believed to be of the Clovis culture. In fact, DNA shows that the infant was closely related to native North Americans of today, and we believe the Clovis people are the direct ancestors of 80% of all living Native Americans in North and South America. Which tribe is the oldest? None of these early tribes still exists. Civilizations rise and fall, and the human landscape is always changing. So a tribe, as we know, is highly unlikely to remain for thousands of years. You could ask, which of the current Native American tribes is the oldest? But this question isn't any easier. Before Europeans arrived, we only had oral records to rely on, and these tend to change over generations. Legends do tell the story of a great migration, including the crossing of a river, possibly the Mississippi. Origin stories are an important part of Native American culture, but they don't help us to date Native American tribes. For example, Cherokee tribal history says that they've existed since time immemorial. The Hopi are known amongst Native Americans as the oldest of tribes. We do know that the Hopi village of Oraibi in Arizona could be the oldest continually inhabited settlement in the United States, at nearly 1,000 years old. We can also use language to trace the movement of Native Americans. Navajo and Apache are part of the Nadine language family, and the first Nadine-speaking peoples entered North America around 10,000 years ago. But the question, which is the oldest Native American tribe, is complex, and it may never have an answer. Native American origin stories and ancestry are an important part of their culture. At the same time, the science and history is constantly evolving, and new discoveries will no doubt challenge what we believe today. Maybe a better question is, how do we keep discovering, while at the same time respecting the culture and history of the Native Americans who live here today?